And on the line with us is Lori Wallach. Lori is the Executive Director of Public Citizens Global Trade Watch. TradeWatch.org is the website, or citizen.org/trade. Lori, welcome back to the program.
Thank you very much.
It's always great talking with you. So Trump was on TV this morning saying that he's got a new deal that replaces NAFTA. And it's the best thing since sliced bread. The old deal was a terrible deal, and we're not going to call this NAFTA anymore. Blah blah blah. It seems to me, though, that actually, before I say what it seems to me, what's your take on this?
So the new deal has some improvements we've long advocated for. Mm-hmm. Some terms we have long opposed, including some recycled from the Trans-Pacific Partnership. And the bottom line is that a lot more work is required to stop NAFTA's ongoing job outsourcing, downward pressure on wages, and environmental damage. And the jury's kind of out if the final package is going to get us there. There are two big questions. Number one, is the text that got released last night what's actually going to end up in front of Congress next year? What would happen next year, and depending on what happens in the elections, who knows? And then number two, what's going to be in the full package? What's going to be in the implementing legislation, for instance? The unions are working right now to try and get in the implementing bill language that could make some somewhat improved labor standards actually enforceable, which right now they're not sufficiently.
Mm-hmm. What about pharmaceuticals? I read that this bill, and maybe this is what was borrowed from TPA, or TTP, TPP, excuse me, that it extends the patents for these pharmaceuticals in ways that will permanently keep our prices high and also raise prices for pharmaceuticals in Canada and maybe Mexico.
Yep, that's one of the things we have long opposed, and it's really outrageous. Big time, big pharma giveaways. And here we are in a free trade agreement, and right in the heart of it are these protectionist monopolies for pharmaceutical firms to avoid competition and have the ability to charge crazy high prices on these cutting edge called biologic drug, large molecule drug medicines, and it's things like Humira, and it's medicines that used to treat cancer. And the bottom line is provisions like that, which could lock in the U.S. from making important reforms in the future, and would definitely raise prices in Mexico and Canada. That stuff just has to go.
It seems to me that what's going on here, Lori, and reality check this for me, please, is that Donald Trump on the campaign trail identifies a real problem. NAFTA has caused over 1 million jobs to be lost from the United States that the government acknowledges, and most people, are of the opinion that it's certainly probably, 6, 8, 10 million jobs are lost as a result of NAFTA. Whatever it may be, it's huge. Number one. So he says, I'm going to do something about this. Then, so everybody goes, yeah, great, let's elect this guy. And I think that's, that really helped him in Michigan, Pennsylvania, Ohio, et cetera. Wisconsin. And then he takes this terrible deal and tweaks it a little bit, gets rid of some of the really obscenely objectionable stuff, but then adds in a bunch of goodies for his buddies, who are supporting his campaign and giving him money. And at the end of the day, it's pretty much a wash. It's really not going to bring jobs back. It's really not going to solve the big problems that we're confronting. But he gets to declare victory, and for the rubes who watch Fox News, they're all going to think he actually did what he campaigned on. Is that am I being too cynical, or is that an accurate analysis?
That may be where we are when the thing comes to Congress next year. I think it's worth reserving judgment for two really important reasons. The one, that's the outstanding issue. So there are some serious changes in this agreement. I think it's an exact description of Trump and what he's up to, but it's also the case that his top trade guy is the U.S. trade representative is a guy named Robert Lighthizer, and he's a serious guy. Right. And he has opposed NAFTA and investor state tribunals and job outsourcing. He's super smart, and he's the guy who's been running the show on this. Yep. So he actually has made some real changes that are worth harvesting, that are important, that could make a difference. So the investor-state dispute settlement system, those outrageous corporate
courts,
rights and tribunals are whacked way, way, way back. The corporate lobbies and hysterics about this. The investor incentives that basically subsidize job outsourcing, the protections that made it less risky and cheaper, those got whacked. That's real stuff. That's like transformational stuff, actually.
Yeah.
However, apropos of your point about some of the corporate buddies, they left a little opening, a loophole into which some oil and gas companies can try and wangle their way back into investor state. So it's like a, 90% solution on a very big problem.
Yeah.
Then they wrote some decent labor standards, including this fairly dramatic annex that for the first time would require that workers in Mexico get secret ballot elections on their union contracts. Right now, there's like a whole racket where these companies basically get paid by the boss to register a union. They are themselves, written down as a union, but it's a business. And the Constitution in Mexico requires a union to be registered. So these guys come in before the first worker's hired when the plant's being built. They negotiate a contract, they register it, and the workers come in to a brand new fancy multi-million-dollar plant and getting paid $1.50 an hour, they go on strike. This just happened at the Goodyear plant in Mexico in San Luis Potosí. And the guys down there are getting paid $1.58 an hour. The guys in Kansas City making the same tire for the same auto companies are getting paid $25, $28 an hour. So the guys down there, and also the working conditions are super unsafe. They go on strike. And they get fired, they get beaten up, they get sent to jail, and they're informed, oh, you have a contract, you have a union, you're violating it. Of course, they've never voted for any of that crap. So there's an annex that would get rid of that. It requires all those fake protection unions must be replaced in 4 years, and that Mexico must provide secret ballot elections for contracts going forward. Now, if that could actually be made sufficiently enforceable, that could make a big difference for people's lives in Mexico, and that would help stop the drag of Mexico's very low wages. I mean, Tom, Mexico's wages now are 40%, manufacturing wages are 40% below coastal China. They're down in real terms since NAFTA.
Whoa.
So this is the only reason I don't say, the hell with it, is because this guy, Bob Lighthizer, made some real changes on some real important things. And if they can follow through and actually make those labor changes enforceable, and the loophole for the oil and gas companies is removed from the investor state, basically otherwise whacking away of those outrageous tribunals, I think it could make a difference in stopping new corporate attacks. After almost $400 million has been paid out in the first 25 years of NAFTA in attacks on water, timber, toxics, you name it, energy policies. And then if we could really see the enforcement of that new labor annex, as well as some other decent rules that are real changes, it might help slow the job outsourcing. It might raise wages in North America, and it certainly could shut down a bunch of those corporate attacks. And we won't know if all of that or any of that is possible unless we keep fighting, because we're going to need members of Congress to pressure the administration. The president thinks it's all done. Horseshit. It's a lot of work to do to even see if NAFTA's ongoing damage can be stopped.
Did we just drop an obscenity on the air here? If we did, yeah, you beeped it, Sean? Okay, thank you. Yeah,
I'm very sorry.
Yeah, it's okay, Lori. But I got the point, and I've got the I get the broad interview. Lori, thanks so much for being with us today.